Assalamu alaikum friends. Today I will tell you about the Battle of Beerul. Kitab Al Irshad, the Book of Guidance by Sheikh al-Mufid, page 256. Muhammad bin Abi Arsil al-Tamimi reported on the authority of Ahmad bin al-Faraj, on the authority of Hasan bin Musa al-Nahdi, on the authority of his father, on the authority of Wabira bin Harith, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, who said, when the Prophet عليه وسلم set out against the Banu al Mustaliq, he avoided the road. Night came and he stopped near a rock valley. Towards the end of the night, Gabriel came down to tell him that a group of unbelieving Jinn had got into the valley with intention of plotting against him and cause him harm to his companions. He called for the commander of faithful, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and told him, go to this valley. Those of the Jinn who are enemies of God will kill you. Repel them with the strength which Allah has given you. You will be protected by the name of Allah, which He has specially endowed you with knowledge of. He sent him 100 men from different groups among the people. He told them, stay with him and obey his orders. The commander of faithful set out for the valley. When he was near the side of the valley, he ordered the 100 men who had accompanied him to stand close to the side and do not do anything until he gave them permission. He went forward and stood at the edge of the valley. He sought refuge with Allah from his enemies, and he named Allah. May His name be magnified. He signaled to the people who has followed him to come closer. They came closer, and there was a gap between them of the distance of a bow shot. They have begun to go down into the valley when a hurricane arose, which always made people to fall on their faces because of its violence. They could not keep their feet on the ground because of terror of opposition and terror of what would come upon them. The commander of faithful shouted, I am Ali ibn Abi Talib ibn Abdul Muttalib, the testamentary trustee of authority of the apostle of God and his cousin. Defy as if you want to. Persons in the form of gypsies appeared before the people who seemed to have torches of fire in their hands, and they died up. The side of the valley, the commander of faithful penetrated deep into the valley, while reciting the Quran and signaling to right and left with his sword. It was not long before the persons became lilac smoke. The commander of faithful magnified Allah. Then he climbed back the way he had come down. He stood with the people who had accompanied him. The place became yellow as a result of what had happened to it. The companions of the apostle of Allah said to him, Abul Hasan, we almost died of fear and anxiety for you because of what you met. It was worse than anyone else that he happened to us. When the enemy showed themselves to me, he told them, and I shouted the names of Allah among them. They became smaller, and I knew the terror which had come upon them. Therefore I went to the valley without any fear of them. If they remained in substantial form, I would have attacked them to the last one. God was sufficient against their plotting, and He was sufficient for the Muslim against the wickedness. The rest of them will go ahead of me to the apostle of Allah in order to believe in him. The commander of faithful returned with those who had been with him to the apostle of Allah. He gave him the news. The apostle of Allah was delighted with him and prayed for his well-being. Then he said to Imam Ali, those who Allah filled with fear through you have come to ahead of you to me. They submitted to Islam, and I accept their submission.